The plant you treat like a weed is actually worth $9 billion to pharmaceutical companies. Why don't you use it? Walk through your garden, along the fence line, or beside a dusty path, and chances are you've pulled this plant out without a second thought. Maybe you've even cursed it for spreading too fast, competing with your vegetables, or just popping up where you didn't plant it. Yet, hidden in plain sight, there's a plant that pharmaceutical companies have built multi-billion-dollar industries around. They study it, extract it, patent it, and profit from it. Meanwhile, most gardeners just toss it on the compost pile or spray it into oblivion. Here at Roots Haven Grounds, we talk a lot about reclaiming forgotten knowledge, working with nature instead of fighting it, and honestly, growing more value from the soil we already have. This plant fits that philosophy perfectly. It's resilient, medicinal, nutritious, and, well, generous. Once you understand what it really is, you'll never see it as a weed again. The weed that changed modern medicine. One of the clearest examples of this hidden value is Artemisia annua, often called sweet wormwood. In many parts of the world, it grows wild, self-seeds easily, and is often dismissed as an invasive nuisance. Yet, compounds derived from this plant form the backbone of modern anti-malarial drugs, a pharmaceutical market worth billions of dollars globally. For centuries, traditional healers used this plant for fevers and infections, long before laboratories confirmed its power. Today, pharmaceutical companies isolate its active compounds, refine them, and sell them back to the world in expensive formulations. The plant itself, though, still grows freely in fields, gardens, and those neglected corners of land. You know, this story isn't unique to sweet wormwood. Dandelion, plantain, nettle, chickweed, and purslane all follow the same pattern. What we call weeds are often simply plants with skills we haven't taken time to understand. So, why are weeds so powerful? Weeds survive where pampered crops fail. They grow in poor soil, resist pests, recover quickly from damage, and adapt to changing conditions. That resilience is not accidental. It comes from complex chemical defenses and nutrient-dense tissues, the very traits that make them valuable medicinally. When a plant can fend off insects, fungi, and stress without human help, it's producing compounds that protect cells and regulate biological systems. Pharmaceutical science didn't invent these compounds. It discovered them, copied them, and concentrated them. As gardeners, we already have access to the source. We just haven't been taught to recognize it as valuable. Traditional cultures rarely wasted these plants. What we now label as weeds were once daily food, seasonal medicine, and soil builders. Leaves were brewed into teas, roots were dried for storage, and fresh plants were used topically for wounds and inflammation. Modern gardening culture, shaped by chemical companies and lawn aesthetics, taught us a different lesson. Anything growing where we didn't plant it is an enemy. Uniformity replaced usefulness. Over time, we forgot how to see abundance unless it came in neat rows. At Roots Haven Grounds, we challenge that mindset. A living garden is not a sterile space. It's a dynamic system, and so-called weeds are often indicators of soil health, moisture balance, and nutrient cycles. So, when pharmaceutical companies look at a wild plant, they're not really interested in just pulling it out. Instead, they analyze it, isolate the active molecules, test those in labs, and then standardize the doses. Once everything is refined, these compounds often become patented products. The irony is, many of these plants still hold value in their natural form, as long as they're used responsibly and with, the right knowledge. While whole plants aren't meant to replace prescribed medicine, they can be pretty powerful allies for preventative health, resilience, and supporting traditional wellness practices. Understanding the plant's role, the timing of harvest, and the right preparation method really makes all the difference. That kind of knowledge has always belonged to growers and healers, not corporations. Growing instead of fighting. One of the simplest shifts you can make as a gardener is to stop eradicating and start observing. When a so-called weed appears, ask yourself what it's telling you. Many deep-rooted plants actually break up compacted soil and pull up minerals from below. Others, thrive where nitrogen is abundant, acting as living indicators. Instead of spraying or pulling everything, try designating a corner of your garden as a learning space. Allow some beneficial wild plants to grow, harvest them intentionally, and notice how they interact with your vegetables. You'll often find improved pollination, fewer pest outbreaks, and healthier soil. This approach doesn't mean letting your garden run wild. It just means choosing cooperation over control. Simple ways to start using what you already have. Begin by learning one plant at a time. Identify it correctly, learn its growth cycle, and understand which parts are traditionally used. Harvest gently, never taking more than the plant can recover from. Dry leaves in the shade, store roots properly, and, make sure to label everything. Even if you never make a tea or tincture, simply leaving certain plants in place improves biodiversity and soil health. Some weeds act as living mulch, others attract beneficial insects, and, many improve water retention. The goal isn't to turn your garden into a pharmacy overnight. It's to rebuild a relationship with the land that feeds and supports you. So why have you been told not to use it? Well, there's little profit in teaching people to value what grows freely. A plant that anyone can harvest doesn't fit neatly into a commercial system built on scarcity and dependency. Over time, regulations, marketing, and, honestly, misinformation push traditional plant knowledge to the margins. Yet the resurgence of home gardening, herbal learning, and soil-based living shows that, people are ready to reclaim that wisdom. When you understand the plants around you, you're no longer dependent on external inputs for everything. That independence really starts with curiosity. Once you recognize the value hidden in so-called weeds, your entire garden changes. You stop seeing problems and honestly, start seeing potential. You notice patterns, cycles, and opportunities to work with nature instead of against it. That mindset doesn't just save money or improve yields, it reconnects you to an older, deeper way of growing food and health from the same soil. The plant worth billions to pharmaceutical companies doesn't need to be exotic or rare. It's often right under your feet, just waiting for you to stop fighting it and start learning from it. Every garden is a library. The plants growing there are pages of knowledge written by nature over thousands of years. When we label something a weed, we close the book without reading it. If this article changed the way you see your garden, imagine what happens when you start observing instead of erasing. That's what we're about here at Roots Haven Grounds. If you found this useful, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, share this article with a fellow gardener, and help spread the idea that abundance doesn't come from fighting nature, but from understanding it.